Hello everybody. I hope you can hear me. If not, then please leave a comment. This demo is about a sneak preview of the revision that we made of the reinforcement design and checks. And you are invited here to become our beta testers. So what you first want to do is we want to give you an overview of what we have developed, what is ongoing, and what you can expect. Then we will show a bit how these commands are accessible in Scia Engineer. And later on, my colleague Scia is going to give you some more explanation about being a beta tester. So what it is to be a beta tester and how to sign up to become a beta tester. Now, I want to explain what we have reviewed. So we have done a revision of our design and checks, and we have done this with using new technologies. And these new technologies, they are in Scia Engineer 14, but only in the beta version, which means only the version that you can access once that you receive a beta license. And we have focused on, as you can see, performance, quality, and clear results. Also, a new thing that we will also explain is design groups, which is something very useful for big projects and structures in which you have more similar elements which you want to design in a group. Now, about our new technology that we use to revise the concrete checks and designs, that has been done with the Scia Design Forms environment. This is a platform which is linked as a post-processor for Scia Engineer. So, in fact, Scia Engineer has several commands, and these commands they are gonna call design forms. So they are gonna call upon the platform and execute the check using the design forms. This is also all based on a new concrete toolbox that we made. And this concrete toolbox is actually a set of code-independent functions with generic algorithms, which means that these functions, they can be applied to many special and general things. So they can be applied to general cross-sections. It's not like we made our new algorithms, they are not made for a rectangular section or just some other regular form of section. They are for all types of sections and all types of members. Now also our new features which are currently available are, for example, the capacity check, and in the capacity check the shear forces are combined and the interaction has been checked. A crack width also for columns, which is new, and stress limitation in service limit states. Also the limitation of deflection, that was in the past done with CDD, so a code-dependent deflection check. Now we have a new approach and it is placed into a separate check, which is much faster and it's also in compliance with Eurocode 2. Other new things, the calculation of theoretical reinforcement will take into account that you can place no more than a certain amount of reinforcement in a single layer. And once that layer is filled up with reinforcement, you will have to use a new layer, and that new layer will have another lever arm. Also, the design for columns has been expanded, and the calculation of shear reinforcement is now based on all shear forces. So it will combine the shear forces to find the shear force reinforcement, the shear reinforcement. Also, if you want to run capacity checks or other checks, you will also see that the output will contain much more information. Well, in fact, you have two types of output. You have a short output and a detailed output. And a detailed output will contain not only the result, but also the formulas, values filled into the formulas, and then the results. And to have a quick overview of all your results, there is still the short preview, so short table output. Now all these commands we have put into Scia. And to put them into Scia, we also revised the structure a bit. And for example, your global settings and member settings, they have been put into a new settings menu in which you have multiple options. You have search options, you have sort options, different things which I will show later on in Scia. And the calculations now allow for parallel processing, which becomes much faster than before. Now the concrete tree has also been revised. So as you can see here in the image, this is how it will look like. You will have different parts, and the workflow is as it is for other options in Scia, other menus in Scia, from top to down. And if you want, you can skip several things or not. You can change the follow, you can change the order, but it is a top to down order which is normally followed. Now what can still be expected in Scia 14.1, so later on? These are things that we are still working on, but are not yet in the beta testing version. There will be new checks, new additional checks, which will be revised. So torsion checks will be expanded. There will be an interaction check for all internal forces, and detailing provisions will also be revised. And the same thing, of course, for 2D members, and we will work even more on speed improvements. Also in a later stage we will expand the design on service limit state requirements, so that the amount of reinforcement that you calculate or other things which you want to design take into account the limitation of your stresses which you want in your service limit state and other requirements, as you can see, crack width and deflection. And then other things, overall checks for 1D members, the automatic reinforcement designs, and new designs and functionalities for other things linked to 2D members, free stressing, and trips. Now here is a short overview of what is in the 14 version and what is different compared to the 2013 version. So as you can see, for column we have indicated yes, which means that for a column all the same options are available in the 14 beta version. For a beam there are still some limitations. For example, we can do the shifting of the moment curve, but we do not have we have not taken into account yet the reduction which you can do for moment lines and shear force lines when you are close to supports and columns. Then, for example, reinforcement design. As you can see, longitudinal reinforcement design in ultimate limit states, it is indicated as a yes, which means all the same functionalities that you had in the 2013 version are available, and it has even been expanded. So additional functionalities. So these are additional functionalities which I have explained previously in my previous slides. And as you can see, here we have combined, actually this table combines all which I explained in the previous slides, and the things that are indicated as DV, those are still in development. So they are ongoing and they will be available in one of the next patches or versions. Now, all these new functionalities, they are in a new concrete menu. So as you will see, in Scia there will be the concrete menu, which is the old concrete menu, which will be available, and there will be the new concrete menu, and the new concrete menu is the concrete 14 beta. Now, For which functionalities do you still want to use the old service? Well, for existing projects, for example, or if you are starting a new project, then for the things that are, for example, connected to the 2D reinforcement or RIPS or pre-stress or automatic reinforcement design or code-dependent deflections. So those things are still in the old concrete menu and are still in ongoing development. Now, a short thing about design groups. This is already in the 14 version and not included in the beta. So for this part, you are not especially that special. Everybody can use it. But it will be a good thing to test because this is something very useful for big structures. Because this functionality will automatically group all elements which have the same type, length and cross-section. And optionally, so you can indicate if it must group everything that is in the same layer or not. So it will group everything which has those 3 or 4 properties in common. And this will be automatically generated and updated throughout your project. So as you can see here, it is also possible to display it into the project so that you can see which kind of elements are grouped together. And the grouping functionality is designed and used in the display of certain results. So you can show a result for one element, you can do it for all, and you can do it for design group. That's why we designed this functionality and will be very useful and will be still developed for big structures, especially concrete structures. Now, here you can see an example of how you will use it. The selection will be a design group, as you can see in the box indicated in the right, and then you will be able to pick a design group. And you will be able to design on an envelope of a design group later on, and you will do an identical reinforcement configuration for all those group members. So that's the thing that we still want to expand for our design groups. So for the next part, I want to show you some things in Scia Engineer 14. As you can see here, I have a full license, so including a beta license. Now, first of all, I want to show you a thing about the design groups. So if you would start a new project in Scia Engineer 14, it is automatically generated. This is a project that comes from a 13 version, which is not where it is not automatically generated. But how it works here is I go to setup, so the setup of design groups, and it automatically groups all the things that have the same length, type and cross-section. Optionally I can choose layer, yes or no, but I'm going to tick on that I want to regenerate it automatically. And now it's going to group all elements together which have the same properties. So for example, if I pick this beam, it will be placed in a group. I can show these groups through your view parameter settings. So for structure I can say that the style and color is according to this design group. And now we'll do the coloring according to these design groups. So this is a very useful function to let the program automatically group certain elements together, which you can then design in one single step. Now for the next part, I'm going to go to our new concrete menu. This is the Concrete 14 Beta menu. And this menu is available when you have the beta license. So to get this beta license, you will have to listen to Sonia later on. She will explain everything to you about it. And if I open it, here you see the new concrete menu. So the order is you first have your global settings, you have local settings, you can do a design, add reinforcement, and then do checks. Now, these global settings, they contain both the old solver settings and the design defaults. So all general settings for the concrete menu have now been combined together in a single menu. It is no longer necessary to search in different places. It's all together here. You can easily collapse or expand all. You see you have solver settings and design defaults. And then this normal order is according to your concrete menu. Now it is also possible to search for things. For example, if I want to search something, let's say for example I want to search the diameter. It will indicate here at the bottom. It is at the bottom of my screen. It will indicate the diameter. Or it is also possible to just type it here, and then you will see the different options which have the diameter in it. But of course you can also do it based on other things, other values. So there are many other things which I can fill in and which I can search for. You also see that we've added symbols. You can indicate certain values, and you will also see what is the default value, so that you can see whether or not this value has been changed according to the default, yes or no. And for each option here, I can expand a part at the right, which will indicate a bit more about the option which I am using. So here you see, for example, the second order effect, what it's doing. It's the thing with the eccentricities to calculate your moments of your columns. Just an example. Now, the order of this list can also be changed. You have now the view is set to concrete commands. It can also be according to the code chapters. So if I'm telling myself, well, I want to know what the program is doing for chapter 4 according to Eurocode 2, well, here I can see all those options. There's also a list option. Well, that's just a list. So mostly use code chapters or concrete commands, or you can work with it a bit. You can also save a certain set and load some user settings. And the level of options which are visible, so the amount of options, this is the standard option. There's also this possibility to go into advanced. And then you will have some default options which are available, but which you normally won't have to change. But that's just with a single button. You go from the default and to the advanced level. So that's a bit how these new general settings have been redesigned. There's also a short explanation about the detailing settings. So for your reinforcement, this part has not really changed, so it will be changed in the future. Then if I continue, the 1D member data have also been changed a bit. The window which you will see is how it is composed is a bit similar to how it was before. There is not that image on the left, but it can come in the future. Also in advanced mode, yes or no, and then of course here at the bottom all the options which you can configure yourself. Okay, buckling data have not been changed, but this would be necessary, for example, if you want to configure how certain columns are calculated, because the buckling data is important, for example, for to recalculate the moment of your columns. Now, I will continue to reinforcement design. So first you have your internal forces, because all the reinforcement is calculated according to certain internal forces. What has been changed here? You have a new combination strategy. So there are two options, or we use the strain strategy, which uses a certain short, how do I say it, a short algorithm to search for the most critical combinations. Or you can just say to Scia, well, do them all. Of course, if you have a big amount of combinations, there can be a certain difference, or if you just want to be sure that it takes all, then you can also say take all combinations. The values that can be calculated, you will see that there are recalculated forces for almost all values, even a combined shear force. And here, for example, if I go to my recalculated moments, I will pick this column, then you will be able to see that he calculates the recalculated moment for this column. Now, I can go to the preview. Here we have your brief output. I will make it a bit bigger. And then you will see that he starts with a certain moment and he can recalculate it according to what you want to find. So here, for example, he has not recalculated it because I have not activated it. So it works like that. You change those settings and then it's recalculated. Other things that you can do here, instead of the brief output, you can go to detailed. And if you go to detailed, the program will give you much more detailed explanation about all the different results, how it has found all those results. So here you will see what he has done. He has recalculated different forces. You can see the complete output which he finds. Now, for columns, on this part, he has to estimate an amount of reinforcement in the column. And of course, that estimate comes from a setting. I'm indicating this here because later on, you can check again for internal forces where he uses the real amount of reinforcement. But of course, this part is after adding the reinforcement. Your slenderness, this has not really changed in fact, but it's still very important to check your columns, to design and check your columns. So I'll go on to the reinforcement calculation. This reinforcement calculation has been split up into two different parts: the longitudinal reinforcement design and the shear reinforcement design. Now, if I want to calculate the reinforcement design of longitudinal reinforcement, let's say I'm going to pick here a design group, let's say design group 1, and I'm going to calculate the required reinforcement. So you have here the lower reinforcement, the upper reinforcement, the total reinforcement, the reinforcement in tension, the reinforcement in compression, and of course we still have our more component option. Now, for a total amount of reinforcement in this section, I'm going to pick AS required. And what he's doing now, he's going through the Scia design forms to calculate all these amounts of reinforcements. Okay, you can see it here in these columns. Now, the diagrams are still the same as before. If you want to change them, that's still in drawing setup. For the preview, maybe it will be easier if I ask the output for them all, for this group. You will be able to see this is the amount of reinforcement required. Now it's not showing upper and lower because it has to do a biaxial check. And here you will see the combination key that has been used here. So that is automatically added because I have ticked it on, and you can immediately see how the load cases are combined. Now I'm going to go back and pick just one single check section, current, because I'm going to go to the detailed output. Now for the detailed output, of course you will see a lot more explanation about the different calculations. So you will see input data, your material characteristics, your design reinforcements. Then it will indicate, well, the amount of reinforcement that you need is equivalent to that many times your diameter. Now, the amount of diameter is not anymore rounded up, but it gives the exact amount. And then it will indicate how you have to divide it. So a bit at side 9 at the bottom, bit at 1, bit at 2, and it will also indicate you, well, if you want to do it with your diameter 16, he proposes that you do it like this. So you immediately see how it is designed. Also, a new thing is that you can ask for shear reinforcement separately, and this amount of shear reinforcement, the shear reinforcement required, this amount is actually the amount of shear reinforcement that you need in the cross section. So let's say we pick the bottom one. Now he's calculated for load case 1, I assume. Must be the combination. And of course, again, I can look at my preview, and here it indicates to you what is necessary of these values. I believe it might be possible that I have played a bit with this table already, but it gives you all indications about how much the section can take, what is the maximum, okay, and based on your forces, okay. So it gives you more explanation about all different values used in the check. And of course, like all other options, you can go to the detailed output, and the detailed output will give you a more detailed result, a more detailed table. Now, of course, all these things have been added with a warning or messages or things, and the check is also done based on the combined shear force. So not just one single shear force, but the combined shear force, as you can see here. And then, well, actually you just run through it, and he explains everything which he has done. You can see all these values, the calculation what he has done, all these parts. Now, I will continue and go very shortly through the reinforcement input, because this part is actually still similar to the old concrete menu. This we are still working on this revision. So I'm going to put some reinforcement in the cross section, and I'm going to continue to the checks. Now, as I mentioned before, you have internal forces here again, because these internal forces for columns will be a bit different, because it takes into account the correct amount of reinforcement in the cross section and does not start based with an estimate of the amount of reinforcement that you will need. Of course, these internal forces, they will be very similar to what I had before. And if I go a bit further, it will indicate which slenderness I have to take into account. So these results, this is still the same as before. I can look at the stiffness of, for example, I'll take this reinforced beam here. Now I can go through it very shortly. And here you see the different rigidities. Or I can yet again go to the detailed output. So this option was also available in the 2013 version, but the detailed result, of course, is new. So here you will see a more bit detailed result of the cross section. And it also takes into account whether what your curvature is and what your ultimate cross section is, cracked or uncracked. We have a capacity response diagram. Here you can do a unity check or check for different strains and stresses in the cross section. So all these checks, if you are a beta tester, if you have obtained the license, I would advise you to just run through it, do some checks on it, maybe recalculate it for yourself if you want. Well, I would advise you to just play around and look at all the different things which you can get out of it. So this response check will show us how the response is calculated, different stresses, different strains. As you can see here, stress and strain distribution. It will look at the combined moments, because otherwise you won't get this neutral line, and do different checks of different parts. As you can see here, you have those different checks. Now, capacity diagram. I'm also immediately going to my preview. In this capacity diagram, you will be able to see the images with the capacity curves. So you can see here, okay, this seems to be okay. Okay, here you have this problem. The combination is also going outside of the diagram. And of course, it gives you a message that it's not okay. Now, you can check shear, stress limitation. You also have crack width for columns. And crack width for columns has also been added. So it's also new due to the design forms. And if I go to the detailed output, we'll be able to see how he performs this crack control. So you have your uncracked, your cracked cross-section, and then it continues on. Now, new thing is this deflection check. This deflection check is an approximate method as described in Eurocode 2, chapter 7.4.3. So this deflection takes into account your cracked cross-section, and it actually does an interpolation between your uncracked and cracked state. And you will immediately see the deflection, the real deflection, whereas in the 13 version and previously you had to perform the CDD calculation for it, so the code-dependent deflection calculation. Now it will do this in a single command, which is much faster and is equally precise, or I believe even more precise. And so it indicates, is it cracked, yes or no. It will look a bit more in detail to the stress and the strains. It will go into short term, it will calculate those stiffnesses, curvatures, and then it will go into long term. It will do the same things. And then of course it will give some additional information about which conclusions can be made. So that was short the presentation about all those new functionalities, what is visible in Scia Engineer, what other options that you have. So I've ran through them so that you know a bit where to find all those different things. Now my colleague Scia will give you a bit more information about becoming a beta tester, what it contains, and how we can obtain those licenses.
Unmuted.
Thank you, Jeff, for the nice introduction and the nice demonstration in Scia Engineer. So I will now continue with a short overview. Okay, sorry for the interruption. There was some technical issue with the sound. I hope you can hear me now. So I will tell you very shortly something about the beta program we are setting up. So as you have seen based on Jeff's demonstration, that we have already taken some big steps into the development of the new solution for the reinforcement design and checks. But the developments are still ongoing, so we would like to involve you now as our future users to send us as much feedback as possible, so that we will be able to steer further improvements and further developments based on your suggestions. If you are interested and you want to sign up as a beta tester, what do we expect from you? We ask from you to respond to a survey that will be set up later during this program. And of course, if you encounter some issues, or if you have some suggestions, or just some feedback about things that you like or don't like about the new solution, please send them to us so we can take them into account and base our next improvements on your feedback. So what will happen, later today or tomorrow you will receive an email with the link to this web page, and there you can just click on the button sign up, and then you will get access to the registration form. So it's very short, just some basic information that you need to fill in. What is very important is that you give us the license number of your Scia engineer key. It may either be a standalone or a network key. And then we will add an extra module to it, the module esa.beta, which will give you access to the beta services within your version of Scia Engineer 14. So if you're not sure about the license number, you can always contact your sales responsible or someone from the support department, and they can certainly help you with that. We also ask you to select in which beta testing program you would like to participate. So next to the new solution for reinforced concrete, we start also a beta program for the new solution for composite steel and concrete structures. And a webinar regarding this subject will be given on Friday. But if you want, you can already sign up here as beta tester for that program either. So that's it. Afterwards, you will just receive an updated license file, and you will gain access within your version of Scia Engineer 14. So you don't need to do a parallel installation or start up remote desktop sessions. So we're sure that in this way we can avoid technical issues. I'll scroll down a bit, and here you will find some short introduction about the new solution for reinforced concrete design and checks. If you click on read more, then you will then a technical article will be opened, where you will find some background information. So in fact, it's about the same content as what Jeff has shown to you before. So if you would like to read it and have a look at the images to help you start with trying out the new solution. There are also here some buttons at the right side. So view webinar. Here we will add the link of the recorded session of this webinar. There is also a list of known issues. So this will be frequently updated during the beta program. So please have a look here first if you encounter an issue, if it is not yet reported. And if not, of course, you may send it to us. So it gives an overview at the moment of some bugs and some items that are not yet developed. So this may be interesting. There's also a list of items that are currently in development. And then the last button allows you to send easily an email to us, send us an issue report or your suggestions. So that's it. Thank you for your attention.